Hello and welcome. Now it's time for a story, The Man in the Iron Mask, Chapter 2. Its title is Together Again. Together Again. The new vocab for Chapter 2. The first word is reputation. Reputation. Reputation means the beliefs of or opinions that are generally held on someone or something. The opinion of people of someone or something. Okay, this means of the word reputation. So reputation is the beliefs or opinions that are generally held on someone or something. Hatred. Hatred, it's noun. It means to hate someone. Hatred. Pavement. Pavement. Pavement is the sidewalk or the side of the road where you can walk on. Pavement. Bishop. Bishop is chief priest. Chief priest. Crucifix. Crucifix is a cross. A cross used by Christian people. Cross. Crucifix. Gigantic. Gigantic means huge. Something very big. Gigantic. Ambition. Ambition means desire. Want to do something. Betray. Betray. To cheat someone. To help the enemy of someone. To beat him. This is the meaning of betray. The opposite of loyalty or to be loyal. So betray is the opposite of being loyal. Tavern. Tavern is inn or small hotel. Small hotel. So the new vocab are again reputation. Reputation. Hatred. Hatred. Pavement. Pavement. Bishop. Bishop. Crucifix. Crucifix. Gigantic. Gigantic. Ambition. Ambition. Betray. Betray. Tavern. Tavern. After that we have the word tyrant. Tyrant. Tyrant is someone who treats people in an unfair way. Like our king, King Louis is a tyrant one. He doesn't treat his people in a fair way. Okay, so tyrant means someone who treats people in a violent way or in a bad way, in an unfair way. Like King Louis. King Louis is a tyrant one. Loyalty. Loyalty, the quality of staying in support for someone. Loyalty, the quality of staying in support for someone. To support someone, to be loyal to someone. After that we have the words with their photos. Bishop. This is the bishop, is a person who works for the church. Okay, and what he held in his hand is crucifix. This is the crucifix. So this person is a bishop and he held a crucifix. Tavern. Tavern is a small hotel or inn. Gigantic. Gigantic means huge or big. Pavement, the side part of the way or the sidewalk. Our characters of chapter 2. We will meet at this chapter. First, Aramis. Aramis is one of the 4 musketeers, as we said before. We have a very well-known musketeers, which means soldiers. They trained to use the musket to fight with, but their favorite weapon was the sword, because they can fight bravely with the sword. Aramis is an ex-musketeer, means he retired. He is no longer a musketeer, who is now a great bishop after he joined the church. So Aramis was a musketeer in the past, but now he became a bishop at the church. he would never do anything wrong. He is serious, careful, and always suspicious. Suspicious means have that he has or have doubts of others. He doesn't trust people easily. So the first character here is Aramis. He is an ex-musketeer. He retired and became a great bishop at the church. Okay, he is careful person, suspicious, serious. This is the first character that we will meet at chapter 2. Then we will have Athos. Athos also is one of the 4 well-known musketeers. He retired. Now he is no longer a musketeer, and he lived on his farm. Now he is very sad because his son Raoul was killed in the war. Since then, he lost all his old love of life, and all he lived for now was his dogs and the sound of silence on his farm. So he became a sad man after the death of his son Raoul. He became alone. He lived for his farm and his dogs. So we took the first one, Aramis, and the second one, Athos. Then we will have Porthos. Porthos is the 4th musketeer. He is one of the 4 well-known musketeers. He is a big talker person. He is a talkative person. He liked to talk and joke and so on. He retired. Also, he is no longer a musketeer. And finally, had time to enjoy himself. He tried marriage, but he found it difficult. He was still not ready for the quiet life in the country. So now we studied all the 4 musketeers. The first one was D'Artagnan. D'Artagnan was the captain of the King's Guards. He is now at the King's service, King Louis XIV. After that we have Aramis, then Athos, and finally Porthos. They are the well-known musketeers. Then we will go to chapter 2, the incidents. D'Artagnan set off to see and attend the secret meeting with his old friends as he received a message from his old friend Aramis, asked all the musketeers to meet at their usual place in Paris for an important thing. He wanted to talk with them in an important thing. D'Artagnan set off to see and attend the secret meeting. As we said before, he told the king that he had an urgent business that he had to make in Paris. He left the palace and didn't tell anyone that he will go to meet his friends in their secret place. Their meeting was secret with his old friends, the musketeers. Again, who are the musketeers? D'Artagnan, Aramis, Athos, and Porthos. They are the 4 musketeers. Aramis, Athos, and Porthos. D'Artagnan entered Paris. On his way to the meeting, he saw the bad situation and the bad states of the hungry people in Paris. What did he see in Paris? He saw hatred in angry people's eyes. All the people there in Paris hated the musketeers, hated the king. They didn't like them because the king and his men did nothing for their people to help them stop suffering from hunger and bad state that they were on. The crowd started throwing stones on D'Artagnan when he was in his way to meet his friends. The crowd were very angry. The crowd means the people who saw D'Artagnan. They started throwing stones and rotten cabbages on him. They throw rotten cabbages means spoiled cabbages at him on his way. That means that they didn't like him, and also they said bad words about the musketeers and the king. They said, "Shame on you, musketeers! Shame on you, King Louis," because they were selfish and didn't think of their people. Where was the meeting? At their usual place. What did Aramis mean by the usual place? What is the usual place? It's in a cellar of a food store owned by Aramis's cousin. Finally, the four old musketeers met. Where did they meet? They met at a cellar owned by Aramis's cousin. Okay, this is their usual place, or the secret place where they usually met. The four old friends finally met. Who were the four old friends? D'Artagnan, Aramis, Athos, and Porthos. What happened to the four musketeers after many years had passed before they met? What happened to them? We will know that Aramis became an important bishop. Bishop means a one who works in the church, or a priest. Always careful, always suspicious. And what happened to D'Artagnan? He became a captain of the King's Guards, as we said before. He served France for nearly 30 years. He still didn't make a family. But what about Porthos? Porthos tried to get married several times, but it was difficult for him. Athos was always sad since his son was killed in the war. He had lost all his love of life. All he lived for now was his dogs and his farm. So the four old friends met finally at the cellar, which owned by Aramis's cousin. But what happened to them before they met? Aramis retired and became a bishop. D'Artagnan is still at the king's service. Porthos also retired, tried a marriage, but he couldn't. Athos was very sad after the death of his son. Finally, they met at the cellar. The reason for the meeting is to discuss the serious situation in Paris. So they met to discuss the serious situation in Paris. When D'Artagnan knocked the door of the cellar, he heard silence, and when he saw his friends, they were very happy that they met after many years passed. Aramis said to them his plan. Why did he call them? Why did he want them? Aramis wanted to replace King Louis and get rid of him. Why? Because he is a selfish king. He doesn't care about his people. The people of France were dying of hunger because he was killing his people with wars and taxes. So Aramis sent a message to D'Artagnan and his old friends, because he wanted to meet them to talk about the serious situation of Paris and to tell them his plan. What was his plan? To replace King Louis and get a new king, not King Louis, get a new king that will be good to Paris and its people, because King Louis was killing his people with wars and taxes. Although Aramis had a perfect plan to get rid of the king, but he didn't want to tell his friends about it. At first, he didn't want to tell them his perfect plan. Why? Because he wanted to know that they were with him. They are ready to do everything to save France and its people. Okay? Why was D'Artagnan the most important of the four musketeers for Aramis and for everyone? They wanted D'Artagnan to tell them that he was with them. Why? Because he is the only man on earth that the king could truly trust. So he could make the replacement of the king happen so easily. So the future of France is in his hand. So D'Artagnan is very important to make this perfect plan. Why? Because he is the nearest one to the king. He can make the replacement happens easily, because the king trusts him and he is near the king, and he can help them to make their plan perfectly. Okay? Then D'Artagnan, when Aramis told him about the plan and he asked him, "Are you with us?" But D'Artagnan refused to join Aramis's request to be part of the plan. At first he refused. Why? Because D'Artagnan gave a word to King Louis XIII to defend him and his family. He didn't want to betray the king. He gave them a promise for helping and defense. D'Artagnan thought that King Louis is still young, and he asked the musketeers to wait for a year or two for Louis to change. He thought that Louis might change. He is still young, 29 years old. When he gets older, he will be wise and he will be a good king. Okay? I know it's the speech of D'Artagnan in this place. I know, and it's with a heavy heart that you force me to make this decision. I'm simply asking you to wait. In a year or two, he may change. He means by it King Louis XIV. Not only that, but because, as we said before, he made a promise to God and King Louis XIII to defend the king and the country. He didn't want to betray the king and his son. Did D'Artagnan accept to help his friends in their plan? He didn't accept that. Why? Because no, he didn't, because 30 years ago he made a promise to God. He gave God a promise, and Louis the 13th his word. He gave him his word to defend the king and the country, and he couldn't break that promise. It's very hard for him to be disloyal to the king or betray the king. Betray means to help the enemies to get rid of the king. The musketeers' slogan or their famous word was one for all and all for one. Aramis reminded D'Artagnan and said to him, have you forgotten our slogan or our oath? He said to him, have you forgotten one for all and all for one? That was their famous word, that was their slogan. But D'Artagnan also refused to help them. D'Artagnan asked his friends to wait. In a year or two, King Louis might change, might get wiser, but his friends couldn't wait. His friends couldn't wait because the people of France were dying. They had to act quickly. France was killing its people with King Louis by wars and taxes, so people wouldn't wait. They will die. So they wanted to act quickly to save their country. If he wasn't with them, then he was against them. So they asked D'Artagnan to decide. If you are with us, it's okay, we will make our plan. If you are not with us, so you will be against us. So we will fight each other. Can you imagine? All the friends now became enemies. That night, D'Artagnan took a room in a nearby tavern. A tavern means a little hotel or an inn, but he hardly slept. Why? Because he couldn't make his own mind either to betray the king and be with his friends against him, or betray his friends and tell the king about the plan, so the king will arrest and kill his old friends. So I think it's a very hard decision that D'Artagnan had to take. Do you think Aramis' plan will succeed? Why or why not? We will see at chapter 3 what about the Aramis' plan to replace the king and get a new one, a new king, a fair king to help France and its people, because France was killing its people by wars and taxes. Let's go to the book. We will highlight the most important parts. The most important parts here. We will highlight them. here at page 16, we will highlight together. At page 16 together again, highlight Paris and its starving people. What did here the question, what did D'Artagnan see in Paris? He saw Paris and its starving people. Also, what did he see? He saw hatred. He saw hatred, means hate, in their eyes. So the question here, what did D'Artagnan see when he entered Paris? He saw Paris and its starving people. He also saw hatred in their eyes. What happened to D'Artagnan when he entered Paris? Stones were thrown at him. Stones and rotten cabbages. People threw stones and rotten cabbages at him. Usually they were accompanied by the word shame on King Louis, shame on the musketeers. Okay, then we have our meeting. Highlight with me. Our meeting place was in the cellar of a food store owned by a cousin of Aramis. This is the place of the meeting. What happened to Aramis? He became a bishop of some importance. He was often at court. Also highlight Athos. Athos seldom means rare, came to Paris since his son was killed in the war. He had lost all his old love of life. All he lived for now was his dogs and the sound of silence on his farm. Porthos, I hear that the one who is talking here is D'Artagnan. I heard had tried marriage but had found it difficult. He was still not ready for that quiet life in the country. On the next page we will highlight the last quotation. I am a soldier. Aramis, soldiers are taught to obey orders. Here Aramis is talking to D'Artagnan and told him that he is taking life more seriously than him. D'Artagnan said to him that I'm a soldier and a soldier should obey orders. What does it show? It shows that D'Artagnan is loyal to his job and to his king. He likes it and he will never betray him and be with his enemies. Let's go to the next page, which is page 16. Page 16. We will highlight together from France is killing its people with wars and taxes. Our young men die by the thousands or come back from the wars, half dead, without legs or arms or eyes. The people in the cities are dying of hunger. That's what they said to D'Artagnan to convince him to be with them. At the next page, we will highlight we must be rid. This is Aramis's plan. What was Aramis's plan? Aramis is speaking now. We must be rid of Louis. He thinks of nothing but his pleasures and his ambitions. He knows nothing of government. Yet he calls himself head of state. He must be removed or else France is finished. So they have to choose between France or the king. Highlight also, we must find a way of replacing him with someone better. It's their plan. And also here we have the word loyalties, means to be loyal to someone. Let's go to the next page. Here, page 20. Page 20. We will highlight 30 years ago. Here D'Artagnan is trying to convince his friends he cannot be with them. 30 years ago I made a promise to God and to Louis XIII to defend the king and country, and I cannot break that promise. Louis is still young, he will learn from his mistakes. Okay. Athos hit the table angrily with his fist, made like this. You are wrong. Louis will never learn. He will never change. He truly believes he is a god. Athos said this. Have you forgotten that I'm the only man on the earth that the king can truly trust? Why was D'Artagnan the most important man? Because he is the only one that the king can trust. That's why you are so important to us. You can make this whole thing happen so much more easily. The future of France is in your hands. Okay? At last, if you are not with us, then you are against us. Aramis said to D'Artagnan this: if you are not with us, then you are against us. And also we will highlight the slogan of the musketeers, or the most famous words: one for all and all for one. They reminded D'Artagnan about their slogan, but D'Artagnan didn't change his mind. He cannot betray the king. At page 21 we will highlight: I know, and it's with a heavy heart, that you force me to make this decision. I'm simply asking you to wait. In a year or two he may change. I added, D'Artagnan said this: the people of France are dying. They cannot wait. We must act now. Athos said that we cannot wait for the people. I agree. So Aramis is with Athos, and Porthos raised his sword in accord. That means that the three musketeers, Aramis, Porthos, and Athos, agreed to the plan, but D'Artagnan is still not with them, so he will be against them. We will see in the next chapter. That night I took, which is D'Artagnan, or who is D'Artagnan. That night I took a room in a nearby tavern, but I hardly slept. Why? Because he was thinking, what was I to do? Till the king and fight the three people I loved most in the world, or betray the king. In the end, D'Artagnan decided to wait. He decided not to tell anyone about what happened with his friends, what is their plan, and so on. He decided to wait, to think and see what will happen. He hoped that the king may change and be a good king for his people. That's all for chapter 2. I want you to listen to the CD track 2, CD1 track 2, and also highlight the most important parts of chapter 2. Thank you and goodbye.